Hello, everyone. Hey guys, how's it going? We are doing a live chat tonight, and I am sending out invites right now. You can join us via our Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/gamehuggers, and we're going to be joined shortly by a couple guys that are going to chat about game collecting. So give me 20 seconds here and just think to yourselves about all the cool gaming events that are coming up. Come and eat them up. Just love it when the computer decides to freeze up. All right. So how's everybody else doing tonight? It's Friday night. We're just going to do a quick, hopefully our gangbangers are going to join real quick here. Someone's joining. Hello there. Somebody joined?
It should be me, but for some reason...
Hey, how's it going?
Is my mic up, or... No, mic's here, obviously.
I can hear you. I cannot see anything yet, though.
Odd. Here, I'll turn the camera off and put it back on. There we go. A little of a glitch.
Excellent. How's it going? We are welcomed by RetroPixel. How was your Friday night? How's your Friday night going so far?
You know what? I can't complain. I gotta say, it's our Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada, so.
Oh, excellent! Very cool.
Looking forward to pigging out.
What does the usual Thanksgiving meal consist of?
Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, all that kind of junk. Nothing too outrageous, but everything wonderful.
It sounds like a turkey coma. I love it.
Oh,
that's awesome.
It's great. You get the itis pretty fast.
Yeah. It's like my favorite thing is a Thanksgiving meal and just falling asleep to in the turkey coma. That's one of my favorite things. It's weird. The older I get, the more I love Thanksgiving. Like as a kid, it was kind of like, well, we don't really get to open gifts. We don't get to do a whole lot of fun stuff with it. But now that I'm an adult, it's like, God, that's like the best thing in the world is getting a huge meal and just sitting back and watching football all day.
Yeah, I absolutely love it myself.
Hey, so it looks like we were just joined by Star Soldier 1 or Ryan or the AirZonkWorldChamp. How's it going, man?
Yo, how's everybody doing out there?
We are doing good.
So far, I think everybody's doing good.
All right.
All right.
Who am I kidding?
Friday night. What is the usual routine of a Friday night for you guys?
Honestly, normally at this time I'm in bed. It sounds pathetic, but I get up so stupid early every day. 10 o'clock is normally getting close to cutoff, so I'm actually doing not too bad tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a pretty full house, so honestly, it's probably about the same for me too.
For me, it's either like getting ready for the market, I'll see what my friends are up to, that sort of stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Speaking of the market, Ryan, I've heard a terrible, terrible story. Well, I don't know how terrible it is. Maybe it's a little bit of a liberating story, but I've heard that this past couple weeks, you have finally decided to pass on some of your gaming collection to the rest of the gaming community. Do you want to talk about that at all, or?
Yeah, it was a pretty hard decision, but somebody came into the market with a very nice offer Saturday of 2 weeks ago for $12,000 for my stadium events. And how do you say no?
Wow.
To that?
Now, are you one of the lucky guys that wound up finding that in the wild somewhere for a good deal, or did you actually pick it up when it was already a very, very like highly sought out game?
I was a complete idiot and bought the game for a then ridiculous price of $700 back in 2006. I
Oh
wanted
wow.
the licensed NES collection, and everybody said, "You're a fool. $700 for State events? Are you crazy?" But I did it anyways. But I had much more of a disposable income back then, and I wanted to know what it was like, you know, sort of like that aura again, a complete licensed NES collection. It was
When
my
when did you when did you complete that? The all the licensed NES games.
in 2006.
Oh, that was like the last one then?
It was one of the last ones. Yeah, the last one I needed was a pretty unremarkable game, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, UEI edition, which is an absolutely horrible game, but it was the last game I needed, and boom, I got it. Yeah,
Wow.
I got Sting events, I think, a couple weeks before that.
Okay. And you have started to kind of pass on some of the games to other people now. So you started with stadium events. You got a big chunk of money for that one. A lot more than $700. So haha to all those people that were upset with you. I mean, you made them look like fools now. So, but I mean, how much of your collection has been sold off now? Like, if you have a percentage or
I say about three-fourths of it is gone, so I only have like 100, 200 games left of an 800 game collection.
wow.
Yeah, I was surprised how many people went in on my games, and I wasn't going to go cheap or anything. James can attest to this, that some of the prices we have here in Canada are kind of insane, but people want the games, and I gave out some pro prices, so yeah, I was able to sell off quite a bit of them and really eat up away at my mortgage.
You know, and that's cool though. I mean, it's going to a good cause. It's going back into your house. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, it's not like you're just, that's awesome. I mean, congratulations on that. That's pretty cool to be able to take, your hobby and turn it into like an investment. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. That's awesome.
And right now, at this point, I'm happy with my TurboGrafx 16 collection. You know, I felt kind of guilty that I had all these complete collections, and here I am with uh, NES collections. And oh, when can I get this? When can I get that? People have been asking me, "Are you going to sell this?" And I said, "No, no." I told them for like 9 years straight that I'm never going to sell, and it was just that one scary offer of stay events. Okay, prices are just getting way too high. My sister is like 7 months pregnant here, and I don't want anybody like breaking into this place. And now was the right time to sell, and I want to get the word out about my business. So I decided to sell the games locally. So I'm sorry to anybody around the world that wanted to buy my games. I'm just going to keep it on in the area, and that way I can focus on my store and give out my games to friends. Well, not give them away, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nice to be able to kind of get them to people that you know, or maybe people that are a little bit closer to you that you might get together with eventually later on, and maybe they would be willing to even sell it back to you if things are different and you start to miss those kind of games and things like that.
Not a chance.
Um, you
No,
say that now, but it's only been a couple of weeks.
yeah.
I actually wound up going through a very similar situation. I needed to get some things taken care of, and I wound up selling off a humongous chunk of my gaming collection at the time, and this was like in 2008. I did not have complete anything, but I had a very close to complete, quote unquote complete TurboGrafx collection. The only game I never owned out of those was Magical Chase. I've had all the other Super CDs, all the other harder to find ones like Dungeon Explorer 2 and Super AirZonk, Bonk 3 CD, stuff like that. And I got those all at like the least expensive value ever, which was off of like tzd.com for like, I think it was 3 for $99 or whatever when they were trying to sell those off and clearance them off back in like 93 and 94. And I had all of those games, and it just, like, at first I was like, okay, we need the money. And then when we wound up selling off things and the games were, I was basically just taking offers, and the offers were a lot of times way more than I expected them to be offering me, so I just couldn't resist. I mean, somebody offering me $400 for Bonk 3 CD, I just couldn't believe it because I didn't even realize that game was worth anything. And so I wound up just liquidating everything, like all my whole collection, all my systems, everything. I had Neo Geo, I had the AES, I had a couple carts for that, and I wound up taking all the rest of it to the Midwest Gaming Classic and taking up a like a seller's booth for probably what you do at a lot of conventions and things like that, or like the flea markets and stuff like that. Just running a booth for the weekend, and I wound up making like $6,000 that weekend. And I just, it was great because we had the money and we were able to pay off some things. But after a while, like, a couple weeks later, after the shock kind of like wore off, it was nice. It was like this liberating feeling of like, man, it was really cool to be able to meet a lot of people and to get other people that have never seen these games in the wild or never maybe would have ever had a chance to get these games and just kind of sell them off to them. It was really cool to see people's faces and kind of say goodbye to the collection or whatever, some of those rare, really hard to find games. It was kind of a cool feeling. And what I did personally then for about 2 years is I went straight emulation up until like 2010, and I had a modded Xbox that I wound up putting a 60 gig hard drive in, and I had like, all the Turbo CD games and Sega CD and stuff that I was missing out on, a lot of the Neo Geo games and the Super Nintendo and things like that. And it worked for a really long time, and it was kind of nice to be able to say if I was moving into an apartment or if I was going to a friend's house, I could just grab an Xbox and then a couple controllers and just go, rather than having to pack up like totes and CRT monitors and all kinds of stuff to like pack all that stuff back. But you never know. I mean, and I'm just saying this now, you feel like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to jump back into that rat race again. But when you go to a thrift store or something and you're going to see a couple, man, there's a couple really harder to find like NES games for like 50 cents each, you're going to jump back in and you're going to start it all over again. And it's not to say that you're going to get head over heels and try to complete a collection or anything like that. But when things fall in your lap, and the problem is you got an eye for it, you know what to look for in stores, and I know a lot of us do, these things are going to just kind of fall in your lap somehow, some way, and you're going to start to get back into it. And it's kind of a cool thing, and that's what I was mentioning in a show that we did a couple weeks ago about the concept of like catch and release, like people that get a complete collection and then just sell it all off to kind of do it all over again just to see if you could, And not saying for sure that's going to be your situation, but you never know. It might wind up being that way.
Yeah, it's a thing where if you do see a good deal for like if I find some classic Nintendo games that I want at a store for cheap, yeah, for sure I'm going to grab them again. Because I still want to have the knowledge of the great games I've played in the past. It was cool to sell them off, but if I find some like a Ninja Gaiden 2, I don't know, like the Super Mario Brothers 3 again, yeah, I'm going to buy it up. Because now that I sold it off, there is that desire to play them again. Emulation is great, though. It's great to play, both the domestic and import games right at the bat with a click of a button. It's very cool. But, there's that authentic feel of playing the original too that cannot be denied. But, yeah, one cool thing about losing the NES collection is that I have a lot more space now. Like, it just ate up my entire room. 600 games, all the boxes, or a lot of them had boxes. Man, it was just nuts. And it took me forever to organize it. So if I look more tired than usual, that's why. It's just price and all that, looking up things on eBay, making sure I'm not over or undercutting myself. Oh, it's been crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I totally know that feeling of making room when you start to get rid of all that stuff. For a long time, I had to keep a lot of my collection in storage. I didn't have them on shelves. I didn't have them displayed or anything like that. When I was able to like get rid of all that stuff and get all that plastic totes, all those empty ones back, it was kind of cool to have, not all this whole closet dedicated to or the storage unit dedicated to just retro games. It was like this big empty area now. It was nice to have all that room again. Like RetroPixel, what are your thoughts on having actual collections versus emulating or even completion of collections or anything like that?
I personally can't speak on owning a complete collection as I've never been fortunate enough to do so, unfortunately. But I have done the emulation thing, and you know what? It's great, especially for the stupid rare titles that just cost an insane amount of money. I gotta say, there's been a few where I'm like, you know what? There's no way I'm gonna pay that for that game. It's just not gonna happen. So emulation's great for things like that, and imports, as Ryan said. Just earlier this year, I ended up getting a reproduction copy of Fireman, which is a phenomenal game that we never got on this part of the Earth. And the only way you can play it is obviously reproduction or through emulation. So emulation has its positives in terms of that, making it accessible to people that otherwise could not afford to grab it or just wasn't released in their region. And then obviously there's the arcade games too. Like I've got a couple arcade cabinets downstairs. If it wasn't for those and being fortunate to get the actual game boards for them, guess what? I gotta emulate that kind of stuff on top. But in terms of consoles, if it's affordable, I prefer to own it legit. There's no comparison for having the real deal joypad. In my personal opinion, there's a couple of games that just really are spot on with the legit joypad versus a USB pad or a keyboard or anything else like that sort of matter.
Yep, I totally understand, and I've even seen some of those classic controller to USB converters that you can get for PCs. And that's nice, but you still get that little bit of lag, and it depends on how you're looking at it. If you're playing on an LCD TV, or LCD monitor, I should say, then you don't even have the feeling of those the actual organic scan lines and things like that. I know they try to emulate those things, but it's usually never the same. And it is kind of a hard thing to do, though, to explain to someone why it's so much better to have the actual hardware, to blow into the carts or shake them or put them in just right and get them set up and have a CRT monitor and all that. But it's just it's like having a real classic car versus having a picture of a car. It's interesting how the feeling is, and sometimes even explaining it can be difficult. But there's nothing like having the real deal.
In some cases, there's just no way to play it otherwise. Me personally, I've tried playing even the classic Sonic the Hedgehog games on emulator with a different joypad, and it just, for me, does not feel the same as using a regular Genesis pad on the real hardware. I just find that I have better control over the legit game overall.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that it sort of takes me back to my childhood. That's the way I played it when I was a kid. I didn't have the fancy emulator to save states, anything like that. If you wanted to get good at a game, you had to play it the way that the programmers intended it for its original release. Like with emulators, I feel that you can almost cheat. It's almost like you got God mode on. You can save whenever you want. You could save the ROM file right there and come back to whenever you like, or you save states, and hey, if you die one spot, no problem. Just load up your old save 30 seconds ago. Back then, we didn't have that luxury. You bought a $60, $70 game, you had to get good at it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel the same way. I think that when I play emulation, I don't really take it as seriously, and I don't try to get really good at it. I just kind of am playing it to get through it, to see an ending or to see stages that I never got to see before, because when you're playing it with save states, you're rewinding it 10 seconds back or whatever, and you're able to get right back to where you were. Um, yeah. But yeah, emulation is awesome. I love it for being able to try out games. One thing, what you were talking about earlier, RetroPixel, was about reproductions. Like, I actually really love reproductions. I love being able to get, translated homebrews of games that wound up never coming out in the U.S., getting them fan translated and putting them on a reproduction cart. Things like that, and a lot of like homebrew games that we never even got. Or newer games that are coming out for the older consoles. I love those kind of things. Those are absolutely wonderful ways to play those games that we never got a chance to try, or even get some games on those like EverDrives where you can put them on an SD card and slip them right into the cartridge. I mean, that's an awesome way to play stadium events on the NES.
It's a lot cheaper, I can tell you that.
Right?
But yeah, apart from what you're saying in terms of that, it also helps to expand the library. Not so much with the cartridges, it's a little bit more difficult. But say there's a huge Dreamcast community that is just growing every year, and there's games that are being released like nearly yearly that you can get. Obviously, you can just download it and burn it, and you've got a new game to play on your legit Dreamcast hardware, which is awesome. So, that's not quite a reproduction, if you will, but it's a great way to expand your current library with new titles that otherwise never would have existed.
Absolutely. Did you guys get a chance to try out Volgar the Viking for the Dreamcast yet?
I heard about it. I have not grabbed it yet. I already have it on the Xbox One. It was free.
It is awesome. Yep, it was actually one of the free games of the month, I think, like earlier this year or else late last year.
I can't remember when I got it.
It's also a free game on the Dreamcast, and I got to tell you, I'm a lot better at the Dreamcast version for whatever reason. I think it's got to do with me just melding with that Dreamcast controller and that D-pad. I think it's just so much more responsive than the Xbox One controllers. And yeah, I was able to play it pretty well. I never had gotten quite as far as I'd gotten on the Dreamcast or on the Xbox One version as I do on the Dreamcast version. So I don't know. I'd definitely check it out. It really plays sweet and perfectly on that Dreamcast.
Yeah, it's been in my backlog of stuff to grab, and I just haven't had a chance yet. But yeah, it's definitely on the radar to have done, hopefully before the month's been completed, to actually at least have a copy burned and then play it.
Yep, very awesome. The developers put a link for the ISO, or no, I'm sorry, CDI on their webpage, and also have PDFs for the instruction manuals and for the DVD cases or jewel cases if you want them to make your own copies of it, as legit looking as possible for free, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I didn't even know that they had the jewel case and everything else for it.
Yep, and I think a PDF of the manual too.
Oh, great.
Yeah, sadly, I don't even have a collection myself anymore. I got rid of that, I think, in 2009. As much as I loved it, I nearly had 200 games for it, so nearly a complete collection. Yeah, it just said those are more important than I had to give it up, including the system. Like, when I give it up, I go all out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you've been getting rid of some stuff for a while then.
Yeah, it's kind of like a thing where I go in full force. I want to get every game released for that system, released domestically, and see if I can go all the way. What's it like in every game? Maybe review it online, review it for my website. Just so I have an archive on what great games, underrated gems there are for each particular system. And warn people about the bad stuff, of course. I think like Spirit of 1937, just stay away from.
Oh, geez. The LJN Classic.
Oh, yeah. Their final game, I think.
It was, yep. So okay, are there any like consoles right now that you're sort of on the market looking for more games for, or do you have any like complete collections or complete libraries that you still have that you refuse to get rid of, or are you kind of throwing everything on the market?
Yeah. I grew up on a TurboGrafx 16. It was kind of like a weird thing my parents got for me when it was $300. Back then in Canada, yeah, everything was like $100 more. Thank God those days are over. Again, it's still like that. But yeah, and I wanted to make sure my parents didn't make like a bad investment, and I went full force with the TurboGrafx 16 even as a kid. Wanted to play all the games, experience everything it had to offer, weed out the bad games, play the good ones, and become like an expert at it. And yeah, eventually it helped me with world records on it too. So that's a little small claim to fame, I guess. And
That's
that's I won't get rid of my TurboGrafx 16 collection unless I don't know some weird happens. And
well, obey is all that matters. So you've got the best one right there, anyway.
yeah, it's a soft spot. I love the original Nintendo as well, but it was just taking up way too much space. And yeah, TurboGrafx 16 owners know that you just got the little card, that little case. It fits nicely on the shelf, and said, "Whoa, that barely takes up anything." Original Nintendo game though is like a huge brick.
Right?
Yeah, it comes with a box, and it just takes up so much space, especially when you got 700 air games for the collections, and oh my god. And the games are getting so scary in price that if I had to get rid of anything, it was the original Nintendo collection. Just because it was just becoming too scary in price. And there was a demand for it. I made some cash, and I only have, would you believe it, about 2 grand left paying on my mortgage. So I'll be paying it off in like a couple more weeks. Thank you, everybody out there. I made over 30 grand from my original Nintendo collection.
That is awesome. Do you have any like hidden gems left in your collection or in the for sale collection?
Uh, I have a Roam Rocker.
Nice.
Oddly enough, that's like $100 unit. It's a piece of crap. It works.
I'll go on record saying I'm not interested in buying it.
Yeah. I can barely use the thing because I'm 215 pounds. You apparently have to be like 100 pounds to even use it.
Wow.
It's just a piece of junk. It doesn't even work if you're a 100-pound kid and you got to swivel around. It's the worst device I've ever seen. Like even worse than like the Power Glove where you just move around and Mario's just moving to the left. This thing, you can't even control your character. It just does what it wants. So
Wow.
yeah, for every great Nintendo game out there, like Mario 3, or every cool accessory like the Zapper, you get something like the Rubber Robot, sadly, and the Roll Rocker.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is nuts. I mean, that's really cool. And you're still looking to get rid of the rest of your stuff too?
I'm keeping my Sega Master System, TurboGrafx 16, and Virtual Boy collections. I still have some complete collections I just can't get rid of.
Nice. And where do you go? You do like a weekly sale, right? At a I don't know. I don't remember the name of it exactly, but if anybody's watching and is interested in getting any games from you, how can they contact you, or else come to the shows that you do to pick up some things off of your for sale list?
Okay, I get to be a corporate shill. Okay, it's Video Games 101, Innisfil, Ontario, 400 Market, booth 2515. Open every Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes I'll meet James over at like different shows called the BGCC Swap Meet, and everyone's like that in the local area just to sell games there and buy games.
Cool.
I'm still not gonna give up on games and all that. Probably just gonna get away from the original Nintendo for a while.
There you go. That's awesome. That's very cool. That's really cool that you're able to give it back to, and you're not just like flipping it to like resellers or anything like that, trying to make like the most out of it. And it's really, really awesome that you're that close to paying off your mortgage. That's a huge deal. You really, really have done awesome. That's really cool, and congratulations on that, man.
Well, thank you.
All right, so hey, I'm so glad that we got a chance to sit and chat with you guys. I appreciate you guys taking time tonight. I know it's a late, late, late night for some of you guys, and you guys are looking to kind of hit the hay after a long day at work, especially you, RetroPixel. But if you guys have any last words for us here, I'm gonna say goodnight to everyone. So feel free to chatter off here.
Well, I guess I'll start with the floor of thanking you for having me here, and if there's any of these broadcasts in the future that I can attend, you can let me know ahead of time. I'm happy to join on. I'd say 95% of anything I'm willing to discuss would be retro-wise. I rarely do anything with the modern besides, I have the Wii U, the PS4, and the Xbox One, mostly to appease people that I talk to in the local area that I'm friends with to play with them. Other than that, I really don't touch them if I'm not playing online with those specific individuals. But yeah, if you're ever in the market for having another retro chat, you see what my main interest is behind me. So I'm always happy to attend, providing that the schedule works out for me.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it was cool to do this, So our event about getting rid of my classic Nintendo collection.
I expected more tears and more agony. I was expecting chairs to like go through the window and you start doing wrestling promos.
I miss my collection, but getting 30 grand for original collection like that, that's like a huge score, and my bank is happy. I still have the knowledge that I had the complete collection for my website with my 600 different reviews, crazy reviews I got on there. So I still have the experience of it. And, it's not to say if I win like the lottery or something, I won't get it again. But, I still have my memories, and that's good enough. And I don't want to be like a greedy SOB that has all these games and just keeping them to myself. I want to spread the wealth, let other collectors out there, experience Hank Restaurant or Lois Sanson or Flintstones 2 or Cybernoid, and let them enjoy it as well. And yeah, I still got my Turbo 16 collection, so you guys can check me out there, and maybe I can talk more about that cool system too, because it needs more love.
It absolutely does. That is awesome. I think that's really cool too. I mean, video gaming and in general is always there for the experience, and you have the experiences, and you can still have plenty of more experiences in any of those games that you had, even if you don't physically own them. So it was very cool to have you guys on. I appreciate it so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Take it easy, guys.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
See ya.